In the center of West Africa, surrounded by wide deserts and rough terrain, lies Burkina Faso, a small landlocked nation that for many years received little global attention. For a long time the country faced deep poverty, scarce resources and weak access to basic services such as electricity and clean water. Large parts of the population lived in rural areas where nightfall brought total darkness, leaving homes without light, schools without power and hospitals unable to run essential medical equipment. Today, however, Burkina Faso is presenting a new direction through a proposed $800 billion hydroelectric project that aims to reshape not only the nation itself but also the wider African region. This major initiative, led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, is not limited to power generation alone. It represents a clear statement of independence, a source of optimism and a practical plan for long-term development. Around the world, observers are paying close attention as this small country shows that African nations can guide their own future through innovation, self-reliance and steady progress. The size of the project is immense. With a cost estimated at $800 billion, it stands among the largest infrastructure efforts ever proposed both in Africa and beyond. At first, many critics dismissed the idea, arguing that a country like Burkina Faso, with a small economy and a difficult past, could not manage such a task. Captain Traoré viewed the situation differently. He saw value in the country's rivers, the strength of its workforce and the potential that had not yet been used. His plan focuses on building 11 dams along the Mulhoun River, linked to a modern power grid designed to supply clean and stable electricity to 15 West African countries. The goal goes beyond household lighting. It aims to support schools, hospitals, factories and farms while creating millions of jobs and expanding opportunity across the region. As construction teams place concrete, install turbines and extend long stretches of transmission lines, the idea is slowly turning into reality, and Burkina Faso is stepping forward as a leader in a new African phase. This initiative also carries strong symbolic meaning. For many years, African countries were viewed as dependent on external assistance while their natural wealth benefited others and local populations remained in hardship. Traoré's approach directly questions that perception. By working with emerging partners such as Cuba, Iran and Brazil rather than depending on Western nations, he is demonstrating that Africa can make independent choices and shape its own development path. The $800 billion plan sends a message that Burkina Faso and Africa do not require rescuers. What they need are real opportunities, strong infrastructure and space to grow. As construction advances and power access expands, the country is showing that even a smaller nation can reach major goals when ambition is matched with resolve. To understand the full weight of this project, it is important to look at Burkina Faso's history. Formerly called Upper Volta, the country became independent from France in 1960. Political freedom, however, did not lead to economic success. Much of the land is dry, made up of desert and savanna with limited rainfall. Agriculture, which supports most citizens, has always been difficult due to unstable climate patterns and restricted water access. Many families lived in poverty with limited means to secure food, safe water or basic medical care. Electricity remained out of reach for most people and was largely confined to a small urban population, while rural communities continued to rely on daylight alone. Even in urban areas, power outages were a constant problem, interrupting businesses, schools, and homes without notice. In rural communities, the situation was far worse. Villages had no electricity at all, forcing families to depend on candles, kerosene lamps, or firewood for light and cooking. These methods were costly, hazardous, and harmful to the environment, producing smoke that damaged health and contributed to deforestation. Children could not study after dark, limiting their learning and future opportunities. Hospitals in remote areas struggled to keep medicines at the right temperature or operate essential equipment, putting lives in danger. A doctor in a small clinic might have to perform surgery by candlelight, or a family could lose a loved one because a ventilator could not run without electricity. These problems were not just inconveniences. They were obstacles to development, holding Burkina Faso and its people back from realizing their full potential. Politically, the country faced challenges as well. Burkina Faso experienced periods of instability with coups and frequent leadership changes, making it difficult to build a stable economy. Foreign aid provided some relief but often came with conditions that limited the country's independence. For example, aid sometimes required purchasing oil or equipment from specific nations, keeping Burkina Faso dependent on external powers. This cycle prevented the country from fully controlling its own future. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré took power in 2022 following a military coup, many citizens were frustrated and eager for change. He promised transformation and saw access to electricity as the key to unlocking Burkina Faso's potential, not just for the nation but for the wider West African region. From this vision came his $800 billion hydroelectric project, a bold plan to move beyond the past and create a future where every citizen could prosper. Captain Traoré is not a conventional leader. Young, focused, and deeply patriotic, he assumed power with a clear mission to make Burkina Faso strong, self-reliant, and prosperous. Unlike previous leaders who depended heavily on foreign aid, he aimed to utilize the country's own resources to address its challenges. He looked at the Mohan River, one of the nation's largest rivers, and saw an opportunity. Rivers have historically provided energy, from ancient water mills to modern hydroelectric facilities. Traoré believed that by tapping the Mohan's flow Burkina Faso could generate enough electricity to transform not only the country but the entire region. The plan was extraordinary in scale, an $800 billion initiative to build 11 massive dams along the Mohan River linked to a modern electric grid that would supply power to 15 West African countries. This was not about constructing a single dam or two but about creating a connected network of infrastructure designed to generate clean and reliable energy. The dams would produce electricity by using the river's current to turn giant turbines, sending power through cables to cities, towns, and villages across the region. The grid would be advanced, using modern technology to direct electricity where it was needed most, avoiding waste and interruptions. The $800 billion price tag attracted global attention. Many critics argued it was too expensive, risky, and overly ambitious for a country with Burkina Faso's relatively small economy. Some dismissed it as unrealistic. Yet Captain Ibrahim Traoré remained resolute. He viewed the project as a long-term investment not only for Burkina Faso but for millions of people across West Africa. He believed electricity was a right and was determined to make it accessible. Instead of relying on Western nations for support, he partnered with emerging economies such as Cuba, Iran, and Brazil, who contributed engineers, architects, and technicians to work alongside local teams. These collaborations sent a clear message: Africa could choose its own partners and shape its future independently of powers that had historically exploited its resources. At the center of this initiative are the 11 dams along the Mohan River, engineering achievements built from thousands of tons of concrete and steel. Constructing them is a major challenge. The river passes through rocky and dry terrain, requiring workers to clear land, level surfaces, and pour foundations capable of holding back millions of gallons of water. The dams are engineered to endure floods, droughts, and other natural challenges to ensure power generation for decades. Each dam is designed to function as part of an integrated system. Water moves from one dam to the next, turning turbines at each point. These turbines operate like giant fans powered by water, converting the flow into electricity. Spillways and gates control the water, preventing floods during the rainy season and conserving water during dry periods. This careful planning allows the dams to produce energy year-round despite Burkina Faso's unpredictable climate. Construction is a massive undertaking involving thousands of workers, heavy machinery, and advanced technology. Bulldozers clear land, cranes lift steel beams, and trucks deliver enormous amounts of concrete. Local workers are trained to operate complex equipment, install turbines, and maintain the dams, creating a new generation of skilled professionals proud to contribute to a historic project. The dams are more than physical structures, they are a symbol of what Burkina Faso can accomplish through shared vision and effort. While the dams form the backbone of the project, the smart electric grid serves as its control center. This network will carry electricity from the Mohan River dams to 15 countries in West Africa, connecting landlocked nations like Niger and Mali to coastal economies such as Nigeria and Senegal. The grid is not just a system of wires but a high-tech platform using artificial intelligence to manage electricity in real time, ensuring homes, schools, and factories receive the power they need. It is designed to be intelligent and efficient, able to respond to demand. For instance, if a city in Ghana requires more electricity during the day to operate factories, the grid can redirect additional power there. If a village in Togo needs light at night for students to study, the grid ensures electricity is available. The AI system manages the load to prevent blackouts and reduce waste. Solar panels are included as a backup so that if one part of the system fails, power continues to flow. This is a major improvement over older unreliable grids that often left people in darkness for hours or even days. The grid is set to transform daily life in West Africa. Families in rural areas will have light in their homes for the first time, allowing children to read and study after dark. Hospitals will be able to operate vital equipment like ventilators and X-ray machines without relying on costly generators. Businesses will have the electricity needed to grow, from small shops using digital payment tools to larger factories producing goods for export. A trader in a market in Senegal will be able to sell goods online without worrying about losing power. A farmer in Mali will run irrigation pumps to water crops even during the dry season. The grid is turning electricity from a luxury into a right, giving millions of people the tools to improve their lives. The grid is scheduled to be fully operational by 2030, but parts are already coming online. In some villages, lights are shining for the first time and communities are celebrating. Businesses are planning to expand knowing they will have reliable electricity. Across West Africa, the project is creating a sense of possibility, showing what can happen when energy is no longer a barrier. One of the most significant aspects of the $800 billion initiative is the jobs it is generating. Already over 1.5 million people in Burkina Faso are employed on the project, and the number continues to grow. Jobs cover a wide range of skills, from pouring concrete and welding steel to designing turbines and programming the smart grid. Workers are learning new trades, earning steady incomes and supporting their families. For many, this is their first chance to contribute to something larger than themselves, something that will change the country's future. Captain Ibrahim Traoré made a deliberate choice to focus on local workers. Rather than relying entirely on foreign companies, he prioritized training Burkina Faso's own people. This has created pride and ownership across the nation. Young men and women who once saw no future in the country are now becoming engineers, technicians, and managers. A young woman who previously worked as a street vendor might now operate a crane at a dam site. A young man who left for Europe to find work may return to program the AI systems for the smart grid. These changes are occurring across Burkina Faso as people see new opportunities opening. The project is also drawing international companies. More than 40 green technology firms have established offices near the dams, introducing new ideas and innovations. These companies are developing renewable energy solutions such as solar panels and wind turbines, positioning Burkina Faso to become a global leader in clean energy. Some have even described the area around the dams as the Silicon Valley of African energy. Because of all the technology and innovation in the region, these companies are hiring local workers, creating even more jobs and opportunities. The impact of the project goes beyond construction and engineering. The dams are powering new irrigation systems that allow farmers to grow crops year-round. Previously, Burkina Faso's dry climate made farming difficult, with droughts destroying harvests and leaving families without food. Now, with electricity to run water pumps, farmers are producing high-quality crops such as mangoes, tomatoes, and rice. These products are sold not only in local markets but also exported to places like Dubai and Europe. This is generating new income for families and turning Burkina Faso into an agricultural center. The $800 billion project is not just building dams, it is creating a new economy and a new future for millions of people. The project is doing more than providing electricity, it is sparking an economic transformation. Every dam constructed, every cable installed, and every turbine put in place is an opportunity for Burkina Faso and its neighbors to grow stronger. The jobs created give people income which supports local businesses, including shops, restaurants, and markets. As more people are employed, the economy strengthens and new businesses can emerge from small startups to larger factories. The project is also transforming other sectors. The irrigation systems powered by the dams make farming more productive. Farmers can now grow crops even in dry seasons, producing enough to feed their families and sell surplus. For instance, a farmer in Burkina Faso's Sahel region can grow enough tomatoes to supply markets in Nigeria or Ghana. This extra income allows families to improve their homes, send children to school, and invest in their communities. The country is also exporting crops internationally, bringing in foreign currency that can be used to build schools, hospitals, and roads. The economic benefits extend beyond Burkina Faso. As the smart grid connects 15 West African countries, businesses across the region can grow. Factories in Ghana operate without fear of outages, allowing production of goods like clothing and electronics for export. Markets in Nigeria are active, with traders using digital tools thanks to reliable electricity. Schools in Mali receive computers and internet access, providing students the skills to compete globally. This creates a ripple effect where the success of one country supports its neighbors. The project is also attracting global investors. Companies see the potential of West Africa's emerging energy hub and want to participate. They establish offices, hire local staff, and introduce new technology. For example, a tech company might open a factory to produce solar panels, creating hundreds of jobs. A logistics firm may invest in trucks to transport crops to coastal ports. This influx of investment creates even more opportunities for Burkina Faso and all of West Africa. The $800 billion project is turning the region into a center of innovation, growth, and prosperity. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré first announced the project, many in the West were skeptical. They doubted that a small and poor country like Burkina Faso could manage or fund such a large undertaking. Some dismissed it as overly ambitious. Yet as the dams rise and the smart grid develops, global attention is increasing and some countries are taking notice. Nations like China, Russia, and India see Burkina Faso as a serious partner with bold plans. China has offered to invest in satellite energy labs to develop new technologies. Russia is sending engineers to assist with dam construction. India is negotiating access to the grid to support its growing economy. These partnerships signal that Burkina Faso is no longer a charity case but a leader in the global energy market. Western countries that once ignored the nation are now seeking involvement. They recognize that Africa's energy future is evolving independently and they do not want to be left behind. Europe is particularly interested in Burkina Faso's renewable power. With the global shift away from fossil fuels, the dams could eventually supply electricity to North Africa and even Europe through a proposed $20 billion extension under the Sahara Desert. This would make Burkina Faso a significant player in the global energy economy, an achievement few expected from a small landlocked country. The project is also a strong statement of independence. For centuries, Africa's resources were exploited by colonial powers, leaving little benefit for local populations. Traoré's vision seeks to break this cycle. Every watt of electricity generated by the dams moves the country toward self-sufficiency. Every agreement with emerging economies rejects the old model where Africa provided raw materials for others. Burkina Faso is negotiating from a position of strength, choosing its partners and setting its own terms. The world cannot ignore this shift. It is a geopolitical change reshaping how Africa is perceived and respected. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's $800 billion project is more than a plan to build dams and power lines. It is a legacy that will shape Africa for generations. Traoré did not start this project to impress foreign leaders or win recognition. He launched it to restore dignity to his people, to bring light to their homes and give them the tools to pursue their dreams. He wanted to show the world that Africa is not a continent to be taken advantage of but a continent to be respected. In 10 years, Burkina Faso will look very different. The dams and smart grid will provide power for high-speed trains connecting cities, making travel faster and more convenient. Green cities with modern infrastructure and clean energy will emerge, creating new opportunities for businesses and families. Digital schools with computers and internet access will equip students with the skills to compete globally. New industries such as vertical farming where crops are grown in tall buildings to save space will provide both food and jobs. Young people will have opportunities to become engineers, scientists and entrepreneurs, all thanks to the foundation being built today. This project is also inspiring other African nations. Countries like Niger, Togo and Sierra Leone are observing Burkina Faso's progress and developing their own energy plans. They see the possibilities when a nation dares to dream big and works diligently. Traoré's vision is spreading, creating a movement across the continent. Africa is no longer waiting for outsiders to solve its problems. It is solving them through its own leaders, workforce and ideas. The $800 billion hydroelectric project is only the beginning. As the dams are completed and the grid expands, West Africa is becoming a connected and powerful region. Electricity is becoming a right rather than a luxury for millions. Villages that once lived in darkness now have light. Businesses that once struggled are now growing. Young people who felt they had no future are now creating one. This is a revolution not just in energy but in hope, possibility and pride. Burkina Faso is demonstrating to the world that Africa does not need permission to succeed. It is building its own future 1 megawatt at a time. Some are even calling the area around the dams the Silicon Valley of African energy. If this story inspires you, share it widely. Tell the world about Burkina Faso's journey from a forgotten nation to a global leader. As the turbines spin and the lights turn on, one thing is certain. Africa's future is bright and it is being built by Africans for Africans.